You are allowed to change. In fact, I will go as far as to say that if you don't change, then are you really trying something? Are you really in the arena trying to make something happen? Or are you just passively being a backup actor in your own life? I was talking to a friend the other day, and I always think about this. Maybe you had the same thing when you were kids or teenagers. I remember when I was probably in primary school and high school, we used to, with my friends, write each other these letters or even like for birthday wishes. And we always put on those, please don't ever change. And that was supposed to be something positive. That was supposed to be something like, you are so cool, please don't change. And I get the appeal of that. And of course, if you are a teenager, you want and you think that your friends are going to be forever, the ones that you have there, and you think that you already know a lot about life and everything, so it's okay. But reflecting on that, I think that when you are young, you put a lot of emphasis on being this person and being the same and building this identity. And as we grow older, I feel like we start getting more and more afraid of changing. And we make change like such a big deal, and relationships end because people tell each other, you changed too much, you are a different person. And honestly, if you think about it, and if you are completely honest about it, the only constant in life is change. Everything is changing all the time. Everything. There is absolutely nothing that stays static. Nothing. The day turns into the night, months pass by, and it's really easy to get this when you actually look at nature and pay attention to nature. Things are evolving all the time. Some of them more like faster than others, some of them slowly than others. But all the time, seasons are changing, plants, animal, and we ourselves, like all the time, we are getting older every single moment, and that is not necessarily bad. Our cells, like our inner self, our physical self, is changing all the time, all the time. And it's funny how when we are kids, it's really easy to see the changes, especially the physical changes, and we celebrate that. But then as we grow older, it's as if change was something wrong. And as if when you change, you are betraying someone or something. And honestly, I feel like one of the things that hold people back the most, it's being afraid of change. It's being afraid of evolving, of changing your opinion, changing the way that you see something, changing the way that you see life. But isn't that funny? Because if we are not changing, it means that we are not letting new information, new perspective, new things get into our lives. Because there is no way that if we get input from other people, from circumstances, from different places, if we read, if we inform ourselves, there is no way that all our opinions and all the things that we think and talk about are going to stay the same. But changing is not a bad thing. Change is actually good. And when you are evolving and doing new things, and you have the willingness to say, hey, you know what? I used to think this, and now I changed that because I realized that maybe this works differently. Changing your preferences, that is, this should be one of the most normal things. But sometimes we put or we take an identity so deep in ourselves that then we think that it's wrong if we change that because that's the person that maybe we have been for a lot of years or for most of our lives. But again, if you need a permission slip, this is it. You are allowed to change. You're allowed to change your preference. You're allowed to change your opinions. You're allowed to change the way you think about things. You are allowed to say one day, hey, I will never live in this place. And then 5 years later, maybe you get a job offer and you end up living there and trying it out. And maybe you hate it. That it's okay. But maybe you love it. You're allowed to change because when you give yourself permission to change, you give yourself permission to experience, you give yourself permission to see what are all the things that this amazing life has to offer. Because if you think that you have to stay the same, that you have to be this same person with the same interests, with the same preferences for the whole of your life, that is one of the biggest limitations that you can put on yourself. And it's funny because I remember more than 10 years ago when I was in a relationship back in Argentina. I remember that my boyfriend at that time, at the beginning of our relationship, used to tell me that I was always trying to avoid change, that I was always trying to keep things the same. And I remember that, and I remember taking that out like to heart because he was someone who I really love and I really value his opinion. And it was funny because right after that, it was that I started doing these big life changes, and it never stopped. It hasn't stopped up until now, and honestly, I don't think it will because the way that I see life, the way that I see changes, it's that the more you evolve, the more you allow yourself to change, the more you'll be able to experience everything that life has to offer, the more that you will be able to know what are the things that you actually like versus the one that you don't. Because if you don't allow yourself to change and explore, how will you know? Most of the things in life, you have to live them to know if you want them or not. It's not that you can think about pros and cons, and you can overthink it and try to rationalize some decisions. But there are some things in life that you have to experience, that you have to go through to know if they are for you or not, especially with personal preferences, with your interests. Maybe like even with hobbies or things that you want to try. Like if you were always someone who only played tennis, why not try something else? But like that, it's with everything in life. When you allow yourself to change, you allow yourself to experience different things and to maybe find something that you will never thought it was for you or that you would never thought it was your path. But as you let yourself try new things and experience, that is one of the best ways to get to know yourself more. And also, and I think this is really important, not being afraid of telling someone, like, hey, yeah, you know what? I changed my opinion. I don't think like that anymore. What's the big deal? We all change, we all evolve. And as I said before, the only constant in life is change. So why not embracing it? Why not embracing the impermanence of everything and do the most out of it? And use it to experience, to try new things, to enjoy this life. Because at the end of the day, why are we here for? We're not here for suffering, or at least that's not the way that I want to see life. We're not here to suffer and to put up with things. We're here to enjoy, to experiment, to experience all the things that life has to offer. So, again, do not be afraid of changing. Be afraid of being the same exact person 10 years from now. And that is a topic for another video. I'm going to talk about that in my next video. So, yes, hope this was helpful. And if you are listening to this, leave a comment below and tell me, what are you willing to change? See you tomorrow. Yes, sending you a lot of love.